We're here today with Rene Miller from Ener Systems. Rene, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit, how did you get into the IT business? How did you get into managed service provider?
So it's a little bit of a longer story, but I'll give you the short version. So I've always been a little entrepreneurial. So back when I first started my first business when I was in 7th grade, did automotive repair.
Wait, you gotta slow down. 7th grade automotive repair?
I was repairing cars. Anything mechanical in the car, I did it. Pull the engine, rebuild it.
Wow.
I did it, starting in 7th grade. Anyway, fast forward.
You got me already.
Fast forward into college, I became a mechanical engineer, and then left college, went to work for a automotive manufacturer. We supplied parts to the big three.
Yeah.
And we were out in the middle of kind of nowhere, and where they didn't have a lot of skilled labor, so they imported the skilled labor. Mm-hmm. And so part of our job was to automate and get rid of labor. Well, when you need to do automation and need to track what's going on with the automation, that's where computers come in.
Yeah.
And out there weren't a lot of IT resources.
Yeah.
So we had to do it ourselves. Well, we figured out pretty quickly we're good at it.
Yeah.
We can do this. And then we kind of looked forward, my wife and I, and we looked forward and said, computers are here. This was in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're not going to go away as long as we have electricity.
Yeah.
All right. And so we said, hey, let's go out and we're going to do this ourselves.
Yeah.
And we initially started with IT support, and then 15 years ago we transitioned into what now is known as a managed service provider.
Yeah. That's a little bit of a theme. I've done a lot of these interviews and talked to a lot of people who run MSPs, and that really seems to be a theme, is people being entrepreneurial. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes other business owners miss, is you're not just hiring an IT provider, you're building hopefully a relationship
We're just like them.
Yeah, with a fellow business owner who understands the challenges of managing people, understands the challenge of managing payroll and doing all those kinds of things. What are some of the ways you try to build that relationship as a trusted advisor with a business owner that you're serving?
So part of that development is again, it's not just about computer support or IT security. It's going in and say, hey, where are you trying to take your business?
Yeah.
Hey, well, I'm kind of similar. This is where we're trying to go. What kind of problems you're having with employees? Well, okay, I got one similar to that, or this is how I overcame that employee problem or training problem.
Yeah.
Hey, financials, budgeting, we understand that because I have to do that in my company too.
Are people hesitant to talk to you about other kinds of business things that don't seem directly IT related, or how do you kind of get that started?
Well, initially, again, it's doing a good job, and then again, that's as with all things. Then it's, hey, if you're reliable and you're doing a good job, then those barriers come down, and trust goes up. Yeah. And then in which case people open up.
Yeah. So what does it mean, managed service provider? What are some of the services that you provide? What kind of companies do you focus on providing those services to?
So we're typically focusing in the construction arena. So that would mean HVAC companies, that would mean electricians, that would mean plumbers, and general contractors.
Okay. And what are the kinds of things that you do for those businesses? Because when I think, I probably, when I think of an electrician, don't think of them using computers on any kind of a high level, right? I don't think of, plumbing, you think of the plumber coming to your house, you don't think of some of those things. So what are some of the things that you do for them?
So those kind of skills they need, depending on the complexity of the company, but at a minimum, they are scheduling their employees, needing to know where their employees are, where their trucks are, hey, where's the next job? Coming from, and hey, how to route people accordingly. They have payroll to fill. They have vendors they have to manage. They have HR issues. They have
payment
insurance
systems. It used to be you knew you'd have to write a check to the plumber or pay cash, and now you just hand them your card. They have payment systems and
so that information that they're tracking about their customers, naturally they need to do due diligence and protect that information from bad things.
So when you're an MSP, you're basically the IT department for that business. Do you sometimes work with IT departments in a business, or are you primarily their outsourced IT department?
We are both. So we either the complete IT department, or we're augmenting and helping an existing IT, or in some cases we're just consultants and managing and helping them understand what their risk is around IT.
Yeah. And one of the big risks is cybersecurity. I know you told me before you have some really clear steps that you try to walk businesses through. What are some of the main things that you're trying to get across to those business owners when it comes to cybersecurity?
Number one is have a plan, a written plan that's not electronic. It can start electronic, but it's got to be printed.
That's interesting.
It's got to be printed.
Take it back to analog and
it's got to be printed, and you put it under glass,
yeah,
and with a hammer next to it in case of emergency,
yeah,
right? But you also then have to educate your team about this plan. So when something happens, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And then after that, next kinds of high levels, so that in part of that plan is backups and understand user education. But then taking it down is the whole idea of what 2FA, multi-factor, where, that concept where if you want to change your password or you want to log in, not only do you need a password, but you might get a code on your phone.
I hate that. It always seems like it doesn't work or it takes so long, and I keep refreshing my email.
But you have to teach yourself, but it makes it that much harder on the back.
That's exactly right. If it's difficult for me, then it's going to be almost impossible for them. Yeah.
And then remembering is, teaching them some simple things like don't use the same password. And of course, then how do you track all those passwords? That's where to have all these unique passwords, I need a password manager.
Yeah.
So I take, from the high level all the
way down to have a password manager.
Right.
Yeah. Tell me, I think it's easy when people listen, one of two things. They either get so afraid they almost shut down and feel like it's hopeless. If somebody's coming after me, they're going to get me. There's nothing I can do. They're so smart and I'm just this little company, right? I think the other one is kind of the opposite, which is, I don't think they care about my business, or
Absolutely.
I think we're safe. I've never heard of that stuff happening to anybody like me. So give us some examples. You said you work in the construction industry and those kind of things. Give me an example of some people who've had some businesses who've had something, a cybersecurity attack happen, and what you've been able to do to help them.
So we picked up a client after this bad thing happened, but they had been in business for 40 years.
Yeah.
And if I had asked them, and I did ask them, 2 months before the event, if I'd ask, hey, is everything okay? And they're saying, oh yeah, we're fine, there's no problem.
Yeah.
But what they didn't realize, but they do realize now, is that every week, every month, the landscape's changing on the threats. And they're like, hey, that won't happen to me.
Right.
Well, it didn't happen to them for 40 years. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, they're out of $300,000.
Yeah. So tell us about that. $300,000 is a lot of money. What happened, and how does that something like that happen to a business?
Well, in this case, they had compromised their email, one of the email accounts, and from there
the hackers had
compromised the account.
Yep.
Then the hacker went and started monitoring the mail.
Yep.
So we don't know how long they were in there because, again,
and sometimes they can be in there for a long time before they do anything. They're learning.
Doing reconnaissance.
Yeah.
And so the bad guys waited till the owner was out of the country, on vacation.
Which all of that gets passed through the email system. They literally know where you are and what you're doing.
And
I'm flying out tonight. All that stuff's on email. What's my flight number? Where am I going? When am I landing?
That's right. And what they then did is one of the vendors needed to be paid.
Yeah.
Large sum of money. And instead, what the bad guy did is sent, because again, have access to the email. And so what they did is impersonated the email coming in from the supposed vendor.
Yeah.
Went and bought a domain, made it look just like it. It was one letter off.
Yeah.
Looks just like it. And saying, hey, look, change the routing number on where you're going to wire this $300,000 to instead of here, go here. And the accounting person in the office is like, they're following a process whereby, hey, look, we got to get approval from somebody else in the office, and happens to be the owner. The they're texting, going back to the owner, and the owner's like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm on vacation. Why can't it wait?
I don't want to, and this is a big thing. I don't want to follow the processes we've put in place to prevent this exact thing, right?
That's right. And so the owner's like, just whatever. If it can't wait till I get back. And so they were going back and text 6-7 times about this.
Yeah.
But then the whole time, the hackers in the back put driving urgency on it.
Yeah.
It's got to happen. And then went past the 5 days later, the owner's back and like, what do you mean we still owe them money?
Yeah.
I've got bad news. You're not getting that money back.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you did to keep that from happening again? You said they came to you after that had happened. What are some of the things you did to resolve it, and then also to keep it from happening again?
Well, again, plan, the firm process about how we're going to do things, the education with regards to how the bad actors work. So again, hey, look, you teaching them, hey, look, they're going to drive urgency. Here's some of the tricks that they do with domain names.
Yeah.
Looks totally legitimate. They impersonate. And all the other things of implementing multi-factor, the 2FA, that code that you have to always type in, so that they can't take over their accounts. Having unique passwords everywhere instead of, in this case, one password basically got them into their vendors, got them into government sites.
Gets you everywhere.
And the bad guys went from there and started putting their own two-factor on the sites, and next thing you know, can't even get
if the
in.
bad guys are doing it, it proves it's a good idea. They know that's the way to protect theirs. Once they steal it, they know that's a good way to protect it.
That's right.
I think an interesting part of your story, too, is I think sometimes people think, not only is it not going to happen to us or our business, but it's easy for a business owner to think that it's a threat from their employee. I need to be careful with my employees need to learn this. My employees need to follow the rules. My employees,
In
but
this case, it was the
that
owner
was
needed
the
to
owner in that
not following.
situation. Yeah, not following it. So I think we have to recognize we're all a potential risk point for this, and we all have to follow the same rules and policies in order to make that work.
Right, it's not just about you.
Yeah.
Rules are for you, not for me.
Yeah. So that's an example of a company that already was breached, and you sort of helped them try to make themselves safer in the future and respond to it. What's an example? I know you said you had an example of a company where the plan you had in place, you've said that multiple times now, you've got to have a plan. What's the value of a plan? You said something happened and the plan actually helped you to sort of put a stop to something that could have been very damaging.
So an example there is we had a client. They were traveling to a large city up on the Northeast.
Yep.
And both of them were out at a restaurant in the big city. And the restaurant manager came up to him and said, hey, one of our employees said you did something not nice to them, and you're going to have to leave.
Yeah, they kicked him out.
Kicked him out of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And what do you mean? I didn't do anything. You're going to have to leave, sir. And so they left the restaurant, but unbeknownst to them, there's somebody waiting on the outside of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And they can obviously tell they're a little distraught. They come up and start working them, talking to them, commiserating about the bad thing that just happened to them. And next thing they remember, fast forward to the next day.
It's never good when the next day is the next thing you remember. Yeah.
Their phones are gone. And of course, phones were unlocked. And where the plan engaged is all right, execute the plan, call IT, and let's shut the phones down.
Yeah.
In which case, that's when we could already see they were starting to get in, try to change passwords.
Yeah.
But had they not had the plan of, hey, look, unique passwords everywhere, then this would have gone a lot worse. But again,
because they would have had faster access, they would be able to make more progress more quickly.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas other people would have waited. What do you mean? I got to wait. They would have waited till Monday or Tuesday. And well, okay, the phone's gone. Okay.
Or not worried about it at all, because I think one of the things, and I've learned this from you all over the years, is we think of cybersecurity as computer security, but far more people are using phones than almost even using computers, and phones are just as much vulnerable,
That's an
if
entry
not
point.
more, than anything else. So them even saying, oh, I've lost my phone, it's crucial to contact my IT provider about this because this is a cybersecurity risk.
It is, but I would also say the other reason that may hold them back, and I think this might be your background, is there's a psychology involved with regards to being a victim. They're shamed.
Yeah.
I've been taken advantage. I'm now vulnerable, and I don't want to come forward because I feel shame about the thing that happened to me, even though it's not their fault.
Yeah.
And so that holds victims back.
Yeah. So that's where the plan helps again, because I don't need to think it through or make decisions. I just need to start following the plan that I put in place when I wasn't feeling this way and when I wasn't having this kind of bad experience.
That's right.
Yeah. Are phones a unique sort of problem? Do you give people guidance on how to handle personal phones, work phones, in addition to laptops and things like that?
So again, it goes back to the plan, and so part of the plan is how those are each going to be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Has that been a new challenge for you?
It is a new challenge because traditionally where the protection has been overwhelmingly, the majority of the protection revolves around the laptops, the desktop computers, the server.
Okay. So if somebody's running a construction business, they're running an HVAC business, they're running a plumbing business, they're running electrical business, they're watching this, they're listening to this. What's the message that you want to leave them with when it comes to working with an IT provider, when it comes to their cybersecurity? What do you want to tell them?
Well, one, you need to work with one. And again, go after a plan, develop the plan, have it written, have it tested. You know, that's why we say we sit across and do it's called a tabletop exercise, literally.
Yeah.
See what that is, and if you don't have those, or they're not giving you one, it's where you might reach out to us and book a consult. Go to our website, you can book a consult, and we'll walk you through the high level what it is, and if you would like to work more with us, we're happy to help.
I love it, and I love it when the IT business owner says we need to print it out on paper and put it somewhere.
And put a hammer next to it to break it.
That's exactly right.
So that it's ready to go.
That's exactly right. Fantastic, Rene. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.